Okay, I'm making this is the second part of the video on this. The negative sculpting now. The What I did, what we didn't finish last time is a whole bunch of stuff, but we didn't put any of the construction funding in. So what I did is I went to the NPV of the debt, which changed a little bit. I don't know what I changed. And put that as we're going to have a new construction debt. Now, this could be part of the same bond. Please, for modeling purposes, I think I don't know if it's essential, but I think it's helpful to keep them separate and just refinance this construction bond, and then we put the interest rate in. So this construction bond matures, and then it becomes permanent debt. Could be all one of the same debt, but it's because of the sculpting and because everything ties from this fixed amount. Sometimes it's good to keep them separate. In this one, it might not necessarily. Now, in this case, we just said, okay, let's just issue a debt in. We put an issue date, and we're going to then, if we're going to put all of this money in a little cash account or something, and then we're going to use this amount to finance the funding during the construction period. Now, this is going to be, we have to be really careful, not that careful, but the cash flow equations are here. So this amount that we actually fund, we see how much is left in the opening balance, so we'll use a minimum statement. Oh, excuse me for that. And then we take away we figure out, we use a min-max on this one, and we should put dividends, excuse me, and equity cash flows. And now to keep introducing this video, so there'll be a number of techniques to kind of model this. I think there'll be some helpful waterfall techniques, and that's about it. And then here I think we're going to see that we put a target debt service coverage ratio of 1.3 in here, but where did we do this? Target debt service. I think what we really want to do is put the here, the target debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. Now, gosh, I'm so I was yawning there. Now, so now what we did here is just Shift Control R. So our target debt service was this, and we can divide it by this one. I hope you see that it totally doesn't matter if this target debt service stays flat. There's no reason. So what I think, what happened here? Oh no, I have to switch the date around. What? Oh, I changed the technique a little, so maybe 1 of 2020 is when we'll start. But what we're going to do later is, if there's negative interest, whoops. Well, whatever. I don't know what I just did. Shit. Just a minute. There's the issue date. And our cash flow is positive, so I was We're all worried about this. You know what we could do is press Shift Control right arrow, and then for the issue date, if the issue repayment switch is positive, let's make it a conditional formatting. So go to New Rule, use cells to format, and this time we want let's go all the way to this one, and we like this one, and press F4 so it's just on the row, and that will say that one's true, and then we just put fill, how about this fill? Okay, see if this works. Probably screws everything up. I can always undo it. Come on. Okay. Okay. And then so now we're going to just program this. Excuse me, I was just kind of thinking while I was zoning out just a little bit just there. That was a little embarrassing, but this DSCR should be when we go here, we're going to see that it would make a whole lot more sense that this DSCR, when we have the negative cash flows here, we could argue that we don't want any negative cash flows. That's one thing we could do. So we could either start the repayment here and call this part of our funding. A lot of people wouldn't like that. Maybe you wouldn't, because that's really what's going to happen. They've got to get funding from somewhere. Or if we made this DSCR 1.0, let's just practice that. So if I just temporarily made this 1.0 here, oops, this this negative cash flow is just, shoot, no, that's not right. I was thinking it would just repay the interest, but we don't want to. We'll see if we give it more than one, it will allow a dividend. So one way to do this will be to put a different DSCR here, or if we want these to be zero, that's really what we might want to do, is have these to be these repayments to be zero. So so instead of negative, and of course the last thing, we can't at all put a minimum here or anything, or a maximum to cap it at zero. We'll well, if we did, we'd have a massive circular reference problem. I suppose we could do that and put it as part of a function. So we'll try a couple of different things here, and I really don't know the answer yet, but this will be fun. Anybody who thinks this is fun, like me, has serious psychological problems. Okay, now let's put the opening balance equal to the closing balance, just work through a bond financing. And then what we want to do is say, okay, well, this total amount is going to be issued when, and we better be careful with the issue date. It has to be at the beginning of the month. Okay. And then we're going to say, we're going to take our opening balance and repay this when this date equals this one. Okay. If you get a model with a bunch of if statements, you should give this person who did this some strict instructions to go and fix it. Not against if statements, but I'm very against long if statements, as if you care what I'm for or against. That's my political belief there. I've actually got other ones, but okay, and then so that's our opening and closing balance, and then we'll make our opening and closing balance for this funding balance. So this bond will be far higher than the construction in 1 month, so we're going to just stick this into a cash account. So the first thing is we take this new debt issue, put it in an account. Now this is the tricky one. This is our classic cash flow waterfall issue. When we take the cash flow waterfall, when we put one of these things in, we always take it from some kind of cash flow statement, whether it be sources or funding needs kind of analysis in the construction period, or a cash flow waterfall after the construction period, and we put a direct equal sign. So that was my big theme for this one. And then you can subtract this, okay? And then we'll copy this across. Now, I'm not putting in a interest income. That wouldn't complicate things very much at all, as long as you did something logical, which is make the interest income tied to the opening balance. So that little cash account would get an interest income. Now the interest we take, let's take the interest on two different things. Let's put the interest first on our permanent balance, and then also include the interest on our construction debt. Okay, I practiced this once and I had forgotten to do that. So we have this is the interest on our construction debt, and then eventually it goes down and becomes our permanent debt. And then the net cash flow is F2. If you press F2, show the formula, F2, and we subtract all these. This is this big debate on the positive number convention, which I couldn't give a crap about, but I still use this positive, and I don't think it matters in the end. Now the sculpted repayment, let's subtract that out. And the reason I'm subtracting that out now is because excuse me, because we have a possible negative cash flow. So we can't just say if it's negative, use the sculpting or not. So here, I don't know why we started here now. I suppose it could have started in a different period. That's when we started. So we had a negative cash flow. Now we get the cash flow left over, which is the cash flow minus this one. Okay, and this negative cash flow during the construction period, then it gets to be positive. That's going to have to be financed. So and that's what we're going to draw from this funding reserve balance account. Okay, and so we put a minimum. No, of course we don't do that. We first put a maximum and put a minus of this, or 0. So we only, Shift Control R, we only finance this, or try to finance it, if it's negative. Okay, and then what we can do is then we can't take it, we can't get any of this money unless we have some balance in our account. And then we press Shift Control R. So we don't finance this yet. Then we have the bond issue, and we can finance all of the cash flow, and then we run out of the bond issue here, and we have to finance all this with equity. So, or we could get some other kind of financing. So the dividends is going to be, why don't I put another subtotal, is a cash flow after the financing. Okay, and then this is this minus this. Shift Control R, and we put this on, and then the dividends are if this cash flow is negative, positive, sorry, equal max. So this is a nice little review of the max and min. Okay, and then the equity cash flows, we put a max and a minus this or 0, and I should put equity issued. For negative cash flows. Okay, that's a horrible way to say it, but you hopefully get the idea. So we have to put our own equity in here. Oops, no. Ah, come on, what happened to this should have been plus. Okay, and then so we fund this, and then we have no equity funding. And then we have to fund some more. Then we get some dividends. And this is the dividends I think you wouldn't like to allow if you're sculpting the debt. Why would you make the repayment so big? In fact, the repayment should have just been negative 38.5, and I believe I don't believe, that's one thing I do know, that if the come on, I'm trying to say if the DSCR is equal to 1, this will be exactly that, and we'll have no dividends, but we would allow a negative amortization. Now, you might want a 0 amortization, and then we could get more equity funding, or better yet, we could size a debt, not a debt service reserve account, but some kind of reserve account that will say we can put withdrawals from the reserve account up here to do that. So I'm going to we'll address these things one by one. Okay, and to size these things, they're going to all result in circular references, and we're gonna try that. And there's somebody talking in the background, so I've got to pause the video just for a minute. Okay, so now why do I have a negative project IRR there, but okay, I don't know what happened. And I'll fix that sometime when I've got the video off. Now, here's the problem. We have positive dividends, and when we have positive dividends, we have negative sculpted repayment. That's this one. So if we do this manually, one way we can do this is put just ones in here. And excuse me, oh God. Okay, and then we can go until our repayment is keep going like this. Oops, and then we can try 1.3. Nope, 1.1 or something. Nope, 1.05 or something. 1.001. So we could do some sort of complicated goal seek to get this, and then this is still 1, I don't know what happened here, because what happened is once we change this, it changes the level of debt. And you can see if I would put an if statement here, and I would put some sort of if statement that says if this sculpting itself, or this repayment, is negative, or even the cash flow minus the interest is negative, is negative. I'm going to get a massive circular reference, but we'll just illustrate it. So if this is less than 0, then we'll use 1. Otherwise, we'll use the 1.3. You put this and you say, oh, it didn't look that bad. But then once you fix this, it gets messy. In fact, what I worked through is the debt service is the cash flow divided by DSCR, at least the target debt service. That's interest plus principal. Repayment is this. So you could make a little if statement. If the CF divided by the DSCR minus interest is greater than this, just make it divided by this DSCR, otherwise do this. Let's see if that works. Now, it's going to still give us a circular reference, but it's not going to be quite that bad. So if this divided by this is greater than 0, then minus the interest. Where's the interest? This interest is less than 0. Then we take this one, and I meant to say greater than 0. Okay. And then otherwise we'll do the same thing, except instead of dividing it by the DSCR, we'll divide it by 1. If you want to do that, which means the same thing as putting it in. Now it's still, oh, look at that circular reference. Okay. Now what I did here was I said, okay, well, I know we're going to have one, so let's copy and paste specialist values to that. And of course I put it in the wrong damn place. The embarrassing thing about this is I practiced this and still put it in the wrong place. I'll try this. Okay, and then copy that to here. And let's just keep this. And let's try this. Now, when we do this kind of stuff, it didn't work, but let's see what I did wrong. Because this should have been, what happened? We allow a big dividend. What did I do wrong? So, if that we have the B Z. So if this is greater than 0, then we do this. It's less than 0. So we take this. It should have just been this. 40, which is, what's the interest? The interest is this. It should have been just this minus this. Which is correct. Oh. No repayment. Okay. This was the target repayment, so I didn't have to, excuse me, I didn't have to subtract the debt service. Okay, that's my mistake. Okay, so that solved this. Okay, Shift Control R. So that's a second kind of technique. Now, we then have to do some sort of copy and paste macro. Let me just make sure so this didn't allow any dividends. Uh-oh. And then it allowed some dividends here. Okay. And the interesting thing is did we have a circular reference? I think it still has. So yes, there is a circular reference. I'm not even going to worry about where it comes from. Oh yeah, there's just a little difference here. So that's another method. Okay. This should have been this minus the interest, and this should have been oh yes, the repayment is just enough to make sure there's no dividends. Now I'm going to take a little break, and then we'll put a we'll make this repayment net 0. So I am not at this point going to go and make a function to resolve this circular reference, although it would not be that too difficult, and perhaps I'll do that in a subsequent video. We could make a function out of where we have a fixed thing, or we could just do our standard horrible copy paste special where we take the computed copy and paste special as values. Uh-oh. Oh, don't break. Don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break. Okay. I'm just going to stop. I have no idea why that went nuts just there. And then okay. And you can try to make a copy paste special macro. Now, let's make the third method, and in the third method we're going to cut this repayment down to 0, which means we'll have a funding gap, which means we have to get some other money to fund the interest. And to get that money, we can size a reserve account. Okay, I'm repeating myself a little bit there, but that's what we're going to do. I have to repeat myself. Number 1, because I'm old. Number 2, because I have to remind myself what to do. Okay, so remember what we're going to do now is to put the we're going to make this not ever be greater than 0. Now the first thing we could do is if we want to start the refinancing at different periods, I put the net cash flow up here, this net cash flow. If we want to find out the date at which this net cash flow becomes positive net. Now this is cash flow before interest. So if we just put equal match, we can click on find when this one gets to be above 0. That's column 76, and then we put index and click on the column at the top, and then get this, and it says, well, that's 1 July 2020. So this start of repayment could be kind of automated a little bit, and I hope we don't get a circular reference. Oof! When I press these things, I have this like anxiety. My hand starts shaking because I'm so afraid of the dreaded blue arrows. But the dreaded blue arrows didn't appear. Okay, so now we go to the repayment. Of course, now when I make this maximum of this 0, let's see what happens now. This is all okay. So the repayment is greater than 0. Now the problem is that I suppose we should put here a debt service, and the debt service is the repayment plus the interest. Okay, now and then we can put equals sum product, just like we did before, and then we divide that by this, and here's our I hope this is the one. Now why this gave this? Now we get a test of fault, so thankfully we get a test of fault. Okay. Now we've got to just a minute. So we go across. We didn't repay it. We were not successful in repaying this. Now why? If I've got to be very careful. I'm going to have to pause just for a minute. Okay, I took a break, sorry about that, but what this is just the present value of the actual debt service. This is this fixed amount. I made a little button, to redo this. So let's say we put a DSCR of, let's say we have a tenor of 20 years, okay? And so when we take the NPV, it's much higher. And we can, of course, you put a test in here. I was really lazy, but this demonstrates that with a little bit of a copy and paste, that hopefully, please say that you'd reprogram this with a function after you kind of just messed around with it. But then we can have this. Now, what we need to do is now just size some kind of reserve account, because we have some, well, here we put some equity issues here, but we could also fund a reserve account now. When we fund it, I'm just thinking out loud a minute, if the debt will stay the same, the debt's driven by the sculpting, really doesn't matter. Explicitly or implicitly, the reserve account would have to be funded with equity, because now you can say, okay, well, maybe we can get a lower DSCR, and that gives us a higher amount of debt. Okay, and here, so we push this up. Okay, so remember, here's what I had to do. This target debt service is just simply this one, and the debt service is the interest and the principal. This is the NPV, and this is the fixed NPV of debt that goes into our into our debt balance. So I'm not saying this is easy. Please don't think this is easy. We kept a permanent debt separate from this, and now we can have some kind of reserve account to fund negative interest. Now, this will cut into the IRR probably. We put opening balance, and we'll add the funded reserve. So this is, we're going to figure out how much we have to put in. Now to figure out how much we put in, we could do something like just sum these equity issues over the, and just a minute. Why did we start? I suppose we started funding here. And why we didn't, I guess we could have started funding much earlier. We could have started funding after the construction period. Why don't we do that? So let's just change this. So we have our project 3, our last construction period occurred here. So let's put EO month and go to our last project and put comma 1 and then put -1. That will, whoops, +1. Is that right? Nope. We need a 0. Okay. So we finish the construction here, and that's when we're going to start. That could be our official kind of COD date. So that's this date. Now, oh shit, what happened here? Just a minute. Okay, I'm going to have to stop for a minute because we allowed the financing of the negative cash flow. I suppose that might be okay. I don't really like this. Give me a minute. Give me just a minute. Okay, I hope I'm finally really getting finished with this one. But in this case, we have negative cash flow, and what I did was I made the sculpting smaller. So I made this. So let's try to repay this debt as soon as our capex finish. These are our capex, and we're just going to define the repayment period starting here. I hope you like the conditional formatting. I think that's very cool. Now, what we can do is take all of these negative cash flows that occur during the negative cash flows that occur that have to be funded with dividend. We'll just add up all these negative cash flows. So we need to do some sort of sum if or sum product just when these are negative. Okay, I think I'm going to try the sum product. I'm going to multiply the sum product by by the true false here, just when it's above 0. So why don't we try it down here? Okay, so let's put sum of negative cash flows. So I'm not sure this is going to work. Sum product. First thing we would like to do this. Now you cannot use the entire line for that. So let's take this one and multiply it by the like this. So this gives you the sum product, and then we can also multiply it by an open bracket. This one is less than 0. I hope that's what I wanted. So this gives us, let's see if that really worked. The negative cash flow. So this is supposed to be negative 1827. Okay, so look at that. It worked. So in this financing section, I didn't press Shift Control C yet, but we'll put another account for the reserve account, and let's put a minus on this one. And for some reason we suddenly are going a little bit slowly. Come on, there we go. And I don't know why I don't have a circular reference. It's just because it's all monthly, I suppose. So we add the account. Now we're gonna put this reserve. We're gonna put this in our account here, and we'll put less withdrawn from account, and then put a closing balance. Now, as usual, this amount that we withdraw from the account will be will come from the cash flow account. So, and this amount that we fund will be issued at the same date. So we have to get some money. Now we'll put it, if we put in the sources and uses statement, we should put this in, but for now I'm just going to make the opening balance equal the closing balance, and this is the we compare this to this, and press the F4 button and multiply that by the total. And this withdrawn comes, that's the rule, I'm saying it too many times, it's going to come somewhere here. So we'll put here, we can put a couple of accounts here. How about less the deposits to reserve account, and we add the the withdrawals from account for negative CF. So this withdrawals comes from our balance account now, and then this we're going to say, well, we're going to take a maximum. Great, that door was slammed, of a minus of this or 0. But we only do that during the debt repayment switch. So far we have that, but we can't ever take more out than we have in the opening balance. So there's our old-fashioned classical min-max, min-max, min-max. Okay? And Shift-Control R, and why did I call this dividends, by the way? See, that was wrong. This should have been up here. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay. Okay. And I probably am going to screw all this up, but I hope you see the idea. So this was supposed to be this. Oh, now it's all going slowly. That's okay. I think we're okay. So what we have here is, let's go through to our colored account, and then we have this. Now our dividends should have been this. Shit. Well, shoot. We could add them together, but so let's put this minus this plus this, but the maximum of this are 0. I suppose we should have put a subtotal and then done it. Sorry about that. That was pretty silly what I just did too. Okay. I do have to use Control-C sometimes, don't I? And then we do the same thing. Let's put a subtotal. Sorry about that. Okay. So it's this now minus the deposits, which will cause a negative cash flow, plus the withdrawals. And then we put a maximum of this one or 0. That's the dividends will allow, and the maximum of a minus this one or 0 is what kind of equity we have to issue. So that we have to issue some equity. And where did we put this? Shit. Okay. Oh, I didn't put it in yet. So we're going to withdraw this from the negative cash flow, and then finally we allow a dividend here. Okay, and so remember the rule again and again. The maximum and minimum is in the cash flow analysis. So that goes to this one. And then the closing balance is the opening balance plus the funded reserve minus this one. And then we press this one. And then, oops, we put this in, and I put it in the wrong date. We should have issued it one day before. And and we have some problems with the closing balance. Let's fix this date first. This is when we have the new debt issues, I guess. No, excuse me. Where's the permanent debt? I hope this is the right. Is this still wrong? No, now it's okay. And then this is this. Why is this not? Okay, so I hope I don't have a circular reference. It doesn't say a circular reference. So this is this. Oh, we don't want to withdraw anything here. This shouldn't have withdrawn anything because and I must have taken it from 89 instead of 90. That was really stupid. Okay, and and then we take it out and hopefully we just extinguish the, oh, we just did it. And let's see if we made it, if we sized it okay. I think we did. And that all worked. And I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to thank Vivian again. And if anybody else has a problem like this, I might have gone a little overboard on this one, but I appreciate so much these questions because then we get to mess around with an Excel problem. Okay, and that's gosh, we're at 52 minutes, but okay, so I'm gonna stop.